Hi, everybody. This is I'm Alex Fino. Welcome to FoodnBullshit podcast, the podcast about unfiltered and raw conversation about hospitality, about the restaurant life, about food, and obviously a lot of bullshit. So I'm 53 years old. I'm a chef. I used to be a GM. I'm French, if you haven't noticed by the accent yet. And I've spent 3 decades in the restaurant industry in Europe and in the US, most of the time in high volume restaurants. Now, if you tune in because you're front of the house or back of the house, or you're simply curious about what's going on behind the scenes, welcome. And let me tell you, you're in the right place because we're going to forget the movies, we're going to forget the TV shows. Uh, I will share the true reality of our everyday life because behind every plate we send, there's something inspiring, sometimes funny, sometimes rough, and sometimes just downright messy. So I hope that in all those stories you'll find a little bit of yourself in them actually. So this episode will introduce why I created FoodnBullshit. But for the ones who don't know too much our job, who are not too familiar with it, I before you romanticize the kitchen, let me tell you something. Well, actually, let me ruin something for you, because this industry is not glamorous at all. It's not slow motion tweezers and Netflix lightning. It's 14 to 16 hours shift. There's heat, stress, pressure, mayhem. There's burns. There's cuts. There's caffeine for breakfast. There's adrenaline for lunch. Drugs for dinner. Alcohol for sleep. You miss Christmas because, well, you have 200 strangers in the dining room who wanted the confit or foie gras, and you're still pretending you're fine, even when your head is fried or your back is shot, or your kids stop asking if you'll make it to the school show because, well, you know, show must go on. And another truth we need to say is that this industry chews people up, not metaphorically, not statistically. There's a high rates of depression. There's a high rates of addiction, and there's one of the highest suicide rates in the country, whether both in France and here in the U.S. But the funny thing is that we call it hospitality. Some call it their passion, like me. Uh, we call it dedication. We call it loving the craft. We call it our job, But the thing is, most of the time, there's trauma, but with good plating, with a nice meal. There's addiction disguised as ambition. Here's the twist. Actually, even knowing all that, most of us wouldn't trade it for the world because when the service locks in, when the brigade moves like one body, when chaos turns into a sort of a rhythm, there's nothing like it on earth. It's the greatest job in the world. So in the end, this podcast won't be about food trends. I won't glorify the chef life. I'll just tell the truth, about the fire, about the addiction, about the pride, about the damage it does, about the beauty of this life choice, if there is any any scarce. The rest is basically irrelevant because the rest is details and bullshit stories you tell yourself to avoid facing one simple reality. Because if you if you keep on believing you can quit whenever you want, well, spoiler alert, my friends, you can. Trust me, I tried. We all tried at once, at one time, but it comes back to haunt you like a bad dream because we're adrenaline junkies. Let's face it. So this job is our drug. We need our daily fix, and we can't live without it. So that's why we keep on walking back into the flames again and again and again and again, day after day. So This episode 0 will be my State of the Union Culinary edition. It will be my Declaration of Independence. And probably in the same time, the beginning of the hostilities. Because, well, let me say it bluntly, I've had enough. Not of the job, but all the bullshit in the theater around it. About the posture, the political correctness, the polished language, all the motivation posts you see on LinkedIn and the leadership speeches, mostly written by AI and posted by managers or consultants. I'm sorry, who haven't sweated Saturday night in service in years. And I'm tired of pretending this is who we are, because it's not. I mean, it's not all of us. So from now on, the gloves are off. I'll tell it like it is, without fluff, without thrills, the French way. So basically, this industry was built and it thrived thanks to misfits who never stayed inside the box long enough to feel comfortable in there. Obsessive people, immigrants, addicts, drunks, functioning alcoholics, artists, runaways, workaholics, people with scars in their hands, burn on their soul, people who make careers on instinct through pressure, through chaos and adrenaline, but not with buzzwords. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, that creativity never came from following the rules. I think talent has never been inspired by conformity, and I think personality never grows very well where it can breathe. And somehow, somewhere along the way, nowadays, the hospitality is becoming sort of this management fairy tale where everybody suddenly, wants to become a brand, and everybody thinks they're fucking visionary. They deliver platitudes about leadership, burnout, fear, addiction, anxiety, name it, understaffing, garbage waste, and the emotional violence in this industry in careful curated posts, all written from the comfort of their office. So everything has become optimized, dull, sanitized, safe. My favorite word. Personally, it bores the fuck out of me, because instead of teaching newcomers or new recruits or new kids who show up in this industry how to survive in that reality, some decided that reality itself is a fucking problem. This is where I checked out. That's why I created FoodnBullshit. That's the idea behind it, because I don't buy that social media ready version of hospitality that it's showcased every day on LinkedIn and Instagram and all this shit. Because, well, I'm having a hard time recognizing this industry that I spent 30 years in. That's why, whether through my website, my blog, and now this podcast, I will not bore you with prepackaged slogans or ready to cook feeds. It's as far it's far away from digital brochure pretending everything is beautiful, postmodern concert or restaurants where menus are engineered to satisfy everyone and disturb no one. So basically, if you want HR approved content, too bad. But mostly there's thousands of sites and other podcasts that does this, I think, way better than I'll do it. But if you're tired of that farce too, well, jump in, join me. And if you don't like it, well, you keep on scrolling. It's okay. Because I try to write for the people who still feel a spark during the service. The cooks, the servers, the bartenders, the managers, the dishwashers, the rebels, the too loud, too old, the too intense, the ones who don't fit the mold, the ones who never did, and the ones who probably never will. And somehow this is funny, because that's how I encountered so much resistance from the establishment. The ones too busy trying to turn hospitality into this fucking corporate therapy, pretend this business is supposed to feel comfortable or predictable, emotionally safe again, and frictionless all the time, because it's not. So, some of you might have forgotten that this is the core of this job. This is why we chose it, or sometimes it's just we chose us. It's stressful, it's chaotic. There's adrenaline. It's emotional. It's physical. It's demanding. But FYI, it always has been, and it always will be. So some people might as well they need to get the fucking grip about that. So. To tell you the truth, I remember when I started this adventure on LinkedIn. I thought it was probably the perfect place to say all this, because beneath all the motivational quotes and the fake humility, the so many posts you read, I'm honored and humbled to announce and this, to announce and that, the leadership gurus, the personal branding coaches, and that ridiculous corporate circus. It's pretending to care about humans while optimizing numbers. There's real people underneath, and some of us actually are terrified of becoming irrelevant at 45 or 50 years old. And you have others who are tired pretending they love their job because they have a mortgage. They're exhausted by editing themselves all day long just to remain employable. They're drained to keep on smiling through layoffs, through fake culture, through boring meetings, through toxic management, and that endless corporate theater. So at that time, LinkedIn, it still is actually. It's even more nowadays. It has become a giant showdown of polished identities and measured opinions, where some are selling apparent wisdom with fake version of themselves. They're performing somehow a professionalism with a well-groomed image. They're becoming their own advertisement. But all that they're bloated by self-inflicted importance and borrowed relevance, which is precisely why I think this will hit different, because in the middle of all that noise, I'm sure some of us, I hope some of us are starving for something real, not perfect, but candid, real. So that's why it was the perfect bullshit platform to start sending them this message, because sometimes the best place to start fire is inside the building, pretending nothing burns. So I knew, and I know that the post I made, the books I wrote, both books, and this podcast now won't please everyone. For sure, it won't make me more employable. Probably the opposite. Well, I don't give a rat's ass. Just don't. Because I'm done. I'm done trying to fit in that system. I've spent and dedicated way too many years in this industry to become a watered down version of myself now. It's so here I am, live on podcast. I know that this won't change anything. Absolutely fucking nothing. But at least I try to be honest. And if there's enough employees from hospitality out there who recognize themselves in these worlds, then maybe I'm not completely crazy after all, because ultimately I'm not speaking as an outsider looking to get in. I'm one of you. I'm one of the misfits. So I thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you for episode 1. Take care. Bye.